Well, Scott Frost didn't have to wait for the shoe to drop. He dropped it himself. Nebraska loses 31-28 to Northwestern. They had an 11-point lead midway through the third quarter, and Nebraska tried a gamble, an onside kick that didn't work. Nebraska had just scored 2 touchdowns in a row and led by 11. The onside kick didn't work. Northwestern scored, and they seized momentum for the rest of the game. It was not pretty for Nebraska over the last quarter and a half. The Wildcats hold on 31-28. Nebraska's offense couldn't run the ball much of the day. They threw the ball very well for 2.5 quarters, and then in that final quarter and a half, they just kind of fell apart. Casey Thompson threw a couple of touchdowns, but he also threw 2 costly interceptions, and let's be honest, Nebraska's offensive line did not get it done in that second half. They really broke down at times. They couldn't run the ball very effectively. They didn't protect Thompson very well. And Nebraska's got all kinds of questions on a long flight home. They play North Dakota next week, but they leave Ireland pretty unhappy. Let's get into it. Nebraska starts this game pretty darn well, right? They started well. They got a touchdown on their first drive. Casey Thompson looked really good. Nebraska leads 14-3. Then it was 14-10. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda fumbles. It was a questionable call. Maybe he was down, maybe he wasn't, but the ball goes to Northwestern. They take a 17-14 lead into halftime. Might have been 21-10 otherwise. In the second half, Nebraska gets an incredible play from Thompson. An improv for 58 yards to Garcia Castaneda. That sets up a touchdown by Anthony Grant. Then Grant scores another touchdown a few minutes later on a 46-yard run. Nebraska leads 28-17 at that moment, and that's when Frost tried the onside kick. It didn't work. We'll ask him why he did it and what he saw from Northwestern, but at the end of the day, you're up by 11 points. You've just scored 2 touchdowns. You don't give that momentum away freely. You make Northwestern drive the field. Well, they only had to go about 45 yards to score a touchdown. It was in 28-24. After that, it went back and forth a lot. Neither offense was great, but at the end of the day, Northwestern just wore down Nebraska's defense. More than 500 yards from the Wildcats. 500! Nebraska has not given up that many yards in a while, probably 2 or 3 seasons. The defense looked tired. It looked beat up. The depth wasn't great, and I'll tell you, they looked a step slow and a step not quick. Northwestern was just a little bit tougher and a little bit quicker. We saw a lot of missed tackles. We saw a few good defensive plays. Marquise Buford forced the fumble, but a lot of it just wasn't pretty. Nebraska's got to go back to the drawing board there. On offense, look, Casey Thompson can do that all day. He can try to throw it around, but he threw 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter because he's trying a little hard. He threw one a little hard, and it went through the hands, I think, of Wyatt Lever. Another one was probably Oliver Martin wasn't looking quickly enough. But that's the kind of stuff that happens when you start forcing the issue. The reality is this. If Nebraska can't run the ball, and they didn't run it very well today, save for that 46-yard run, they're going to be a Mike Riley or Bill Callahan football team. They're going to throw it around the yard, and they're going to hope they have a good enough pass concept to beat the team in front of them. And I'll tell you what, they might still win 7 games doing that. They're going to have some days when they're really good. But they just lost to what I do not think is a very good team in Northwestern. I picked them to finish last in the Big Ten West. They're not probably going to finish last. They look pretty good today, but I'm going to pick them to finish last. And at the end of the day, Nebraska should have won this game. They gave it away a little bit on that onside kick, but let's be clear. The line of scrimmage was won by the Northwestern Wildcats. And if that's the way that Nebraska is going to play this year, it could be a long year for the Huskers and a quick hook for Frost. They're going to have to figure this out right away. They'll beat North Dakota, probably. They'll beat Georgia Southern, probably. But after that, you can't count anything out. Another 1-score loss, another tough one for Nebraska, and a long plane flight home. Okay, I'm Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and HuskerExtra.com. We'll have all kinds of coverage of this clunker for the Big Red.